Hi, it's Kyle Meredith at WFPK.
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
Where in the world are you at the moment?
I actually am sitting on a beach in Bethany, Delaware, of all places, writing a little tour journal for one of my fans.
Oh,
So I'm talking about the earthquake of yesterday. I'm writing a little prose on death.
were you a part of the earthquake?
I wouldn't consider it a part of it. I guess I was sitting on a front porch when it happened, and I was with a friend, and we just sort of looked at each other, wondering, like, could this possibly be an earthquake? And
Hmm.
once the house was shaking, and it was actually this producer's house that we made the record at, and I'm just not used to them being on the East Coast. I've been in them in Japan before. I've been in them in California, but never. It was just totally was like more shock value than anything else.
Right.
But yeah, no damage, nothing like that. More surreal than anything else. So there
So,
were some funny posts actually on Facebook. We saw some picture that was like a lawn chair that fell over, and it's
right.
like August
Like
August 23rd. Never forget.
a little
Did you
cup of
see that
yogurt
one?
that had spilled. I saw those pictures. They were great.
I loved them.
It's a
So.
shame it couldn't have happened while you were recording the record. That would have been part of it. It would have been memorialized forever then.
That would have been amazing. Can you imagine? Like, that would have been so cool. We had some lightning storms and power outages during song recordings that actually made the record, but
Really?
yeah, no earthquakes yet.
Could have been so
So,
lucky.
yeah, I know.
Well, I know you've got the new record, and that's really the more important part of this, and we'll get to that in a
Hmm.
second. But I,
Sure.
I think really what's on top of everyone's mind right now, and it seems across the country, the serious subjects out there is the Muppets tribute album.
Yes, yes. I'm so excited that I got to be Gonzo for a little while. Yeah, Mike Viola. Do you know him? He's this amazing musician. He was in a band called the Candy Butchers, and he's a
Okay.
producer and a writer. And he did all of the songs for Get Him to the Greek and Walk
Mm-hmm.
Hard and
Mm-hmm.
That Thing You Do, a bunch of great movies. And he and I just took like 2 days and went into the studio and did that cover. And I was really excited with how it came out, and had this amazing flautist and who just pulled off this awesome solo after we fed him some meat,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just super trippy. But I'm jazzed. I was looking for the album, the actual physical album yesterday, but I couldn't find it, so I'm going to try and get it today.
Yeah, right now it's only streaming, right? So,
I,
but
I think so. Isn't it going to be in Starbucks or something?
yeah,
I was
that's
like,
right.
oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's going to be in Starbucks. So, are you a Muppet fan?
I don't see
No.
how, growing up in I guess from as far back to the 70s into the 90s that you couldn't be a Muppets fan.
I know. That's what I think of, too.
I mean, this is kind of a
So,
dream come true if you did grow up with them and everything. So
yeah.
I would imagine on your behalf that it's a dream come true.
I think it's fun to sort of twist any song, like to try and reinterpret it or make a cover, but then it was definitely challenging. The funny thing about the Muppets is that the song lyrics have so many different levels. Like the song we did was called I'm Going to Go Back There Someday, and it's a dark song. Like when you just sort of suss out some of the lyrics, and it's sort of sad and dark, so it was right up my alley. But there were things that you almost don't get the first time around. So I had fun with it.
Yeah. Do you know if there's going to be any kind of like big concert that everybody's involved in? I mean, there are lots of tribute CDs out there, but this one seems a bit extra special.
You know, I haven't heard anything yet, but that would be kind of a great idea. I think
Yeah.
that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the sad and dark, and you are a wizard at that. Wizardress? What's the? I don't know what the right word is there.
I like wizard dress. That
Wiz-
works.
the wizardress, sad and dark. Let's talk about that new record. As you mentioned, this was recorded in the house that you're at right now, right?
Yes. Yep. John Elijah has a house in Maryland, right in the Chesapeake Bay area, and it's right on the water, and it's just super, super beautiful. And he made a record there. I worked with him a couple of years, about like 8 years back in this house, and he made, I'm trying to think, maybe the Lifehouse record like 6 years ago. That was the last official record he did there. And I just wanted a space where people could basically camp out for a week or whatnot, and not be driving to the studio or going to other gigs or really having anything but the sort of bonding experience that goes on with making a record. And so we set it up like Big Pink, and it really was kind of, you know, everybody's cooking. We had the drum set up in the kitchen, and we had air mattresses. I had a tent out in the yard, and there's a dog running around, and there's something about that just lent itself to like a really great time and super spontaneous, no pressure music making.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it. I favor that over kind of treating a record like a work day in any way.
Right. And you did something special for the setup to this too, as pledges. You were set up with, yeah. How was it? It seems like that was that. I mean, you know, from you, it's got to be different. I mean, you've obviously built a name up, and you know, you've got the Yamagata brand.
Sure.
But for a lot of people, putting yourself out there like that, it seems like it would be a bit intimidating. What happens if they don't come in?
There's a scary factor of, is anybody out there? Is anyone listening? Does anybody care?
Mm-hmm.
So there is sort of a hurdle of your own insecurity that you have to get over if you decide to do the campaign. But the great thing is, within like the first 5 minutes, to get one person who's willing to, you know, support your thing and be like, whatever you're doing, the way that you're doing it, I love, you know, I want to be a part of the behind-the-scenes part of it. It's so gratifying and liberating, especially for me, who's been on major labels for the past 10 years, because it's instantaneous. It's like there's no middle person anymore. It's direct, like, I trust you to make great music. I want you to be able to tour. I want to see all of the extra stuff that I'll now have access to by being part of the campaign. And it just, it's, you know, it'll give you a realistic assessment maybe of where your fan base is, but I think it makes up in, you know, so many ways, just because it takes out any red tape of anybody saying, no, this isn't the right time to tour, you shouldn't make a record this way, or you shouldn't. I mean, it really puts the artist and the fan sort of back in the driver's seat. So for me, it's been it's like a huge relief, a huge breath of fresh air, because the velocity of which I'm moving now for actually making music and planning the tour and all of that stuff, it's back on track. You know, there's been a lot of just sort of industry changes that I think really thwarts an artist's schedule of when they want to do things in ways that you can't even predict. So I'm jazzed about it. And it's also sort of a 3-month press campaign before your record comes out. So I think the more people feel involved in the actual process, the more they'll even appreciate when it comes out, because you've already told them so much of the story of how it was made. And I don't think you get to see that all the time. So there's sort of a special quality to the whole campaign itself.
Yeah, being in public radio, I totally get that. We get to do those fund drives twice a year.
Yeah, exactly. And they do it because they trust the integrity of the station. You know, they want it to do well. And I think there's so many people out there who would change, you know, what they're listening to, what shows are getting tours, all of those things. And this gives them a little bit of ability to do that and help contribute to it.
It's worth pointing out, too, that you reached that goal very quickly, within just a few weeks, right?
Yeah, it was surprising. I think we were almost at like 80% in the first 48 hours, something like that. So that was a really nice feeling. And what it allows me to do is kind of maintain the kind of quality of the work that I've done, because I've had it's really expensive to tour, it's really expensive to make a record, and now that I'm sort of running my own record label, I'm switching it up. Like, I think the musician should get paid super fairly, like all the things that I think people try and skirt around. And so I'm making new rules about things, but the funding aspect of it certainly allows me to do something that's comparable with my past stuff, which, creatively lets me, feel a little bit more assured about what people are going to listen to.
Right. Well, let's switch gears. We've heard Starlight so far, first video single. I'm going to say, sounds like a heartbreak song.
That's funny. Well, it is, but it's got a little bit better of a groove. I'm retaining some of the heartache, but now you can dance to it. Like, that's part of my progression, maybe. But I feel like it's, that's relationship stuff will always be my favorite topic, I'm sure. The interesting thing about this record with some of the other songs is that lyrically, I think I've figured out a bit of a bridge for myself to almost, I've been trying to figure out how I was going to say this, but it's almost to kind of hint at the sort of the sorrow, but concentrate on the positivity of something. Mm-hmm. So instead of, I think in my past lyrically, I'm so entrenched in highlighting what went wrong and how it went wrong. And there's a lighter feel lyrically to some of these in terms of what I'm focusing on, but you still have the complexities of relationships as sort of your thematic stream through the record. Right. So Starlight's more of a fun, vibey song to me. I mean, there's definitely a little bit of heartache thrown in there, but to me it was almost more about the music than anything else.
Yeah. Well, it definitely got that great groove you were talking about, too, and a cool video as well.
Yeah, that was Laura Crosta. We shot that on a wing and a prayer. We were just running around. She did this amazing footage, and I think she did a really great job of just sort of matching a little, some of the darkness of the song quality with the different images she captured. So I was really stoked about it.
You're also known for doing quite a few collaborations out there throughout the years. Have you done any recently that's coming up?
Let me think. What have I done recently?
That probably means you were busy.
I think I've been. I can't keep track of them sometimes. There's a friend of mine, John Francis, who's in Philadelphia. He just did a record with John Carter Cash, and he's just this really sweet songwriter. And I sing on his record, and I'm singing on a friend of mine, this drummer friend of mine who tours with Morrissey. He's doing a record, so I sang a bit of vocals on his stuff. I think the last sort of known collaborator was probably, I wrote some songs with Mraz a couple months ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't even think. I think it's all been past 8 months. Duncan, I was out with Duncan Sheik for a while. Yeah. We went to Indonesia and Asia and did some shows. Yeah, it's been busy.
It always looks like you stay busy out there. And I only bring this up because it's one of your past collaborators, but my very next interview happening here in about 15 minutes is with Ryan Adams.
Oh, amazing.
Anything I should bring up to Ryan?
Awesome. Just tell him I send him many hugs and kisses and hope he's well.
I will definitely do that.
That is amazing. He's awesome. He's such a super talent.
Yep. Well, cool. Thank you so much for taking the time, especially given your beachfront view that I seem to be interrupting. So.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. I'm glad cell phones were invented so I could do this on a beach.
Yeah. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll see you out there this year, all right?
Perfect, Kyle. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.